So I want to call to order our meeting tonight, the Committee of Whole Council meeting for August the 5th, and welcome everyone. Start with the acknowledgement of treaties of peace and friendship. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq peoples. This territory is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship, which Wolastoqiyik, Mi'kmaq, and Passamaquoddy peoples first signed with the British Crown in 1726. The treaties did not deal with surrender of lands and resources, but in fact recognized Mi'kmaq and Wolastoqiyik title and established the rules for what was to be an ongoing relationship between nations. Thank you, Wolalan. Next is the oath of office. We do hereby accept the office of council and will diligently, faithfully, and impartially discharge to the best of our ability the duties of the office as may be imposed upon us by law. Next is the adoption of the agenda. Do we have any changes to the agenda? If council would agree, I'd like to add one myself, and that is just a brief discussion on Lawler and Mitchell Road intersection. So with that, could I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
M 2025-08-05-75, that the agenda be adopted with amendment, with change.
Seconder, please. On the question, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passed. Statements of conflict of interest can be registered with the clerk at the appropriate time. We have nothing under presentations, petitions, delegations. Business? Then we'll move on to presentations by council. So I've got 5. I'll start and be relatively quick. So the dangerous and unsightly premises bylaw, we're working at this, but there seems to be I remember when there was a discussion in terms of in late June, we as a council met with someone who was joining us to look at what we felt the community could use. And it seemed like beautification was the major priority. And I remember during that discussion, there was an idea put forth that perhaps one of the reasons that we're struggling to get to some of our dangerous and unsightly premises targets is because our bylaw may be a bit too restrictive. So if that's the case, then I would think that maybe what we would want to do is to look at trying to amend that bylaw so that it can make it easier for us to approach business or an individual and say this needs to be cleaned up and not have to go through the rigmarole that we sometimes have to do. So I think it would be a good idea in the next, few weeks to a month, whether it be the next meeting or meeting in September, to see if we can bring forth some ideas as a council as a way to amend that bylaw to make it easier and for our appeals committee too. So, perhaps all council members can take a look at that bylaw and see if there's some way that they can add to improve it. Anyone wish to add?
If I may, Your Worship, I have obtained the name of a person who contracts these type of situations. And that is our biggest problem in the village of Baldoon, as far as I'm concerned, is we do not have an enforcement officer. So what I'd like to do is maybe, if I may, and I don't want to pass the buck, but at the end of the day, I'm going to suggest that I pass that name and phone number on to our CAO, and maybe he can contact that individual and get some information and bring it to council. because that's our biggest problem. I mean, it's hard to go out and hire somebody just to be an enforcement officer. But by the same token, if we had someone who would come to the area with the authority through the province and is a contract, at least now we have, for lack of a better word, an enforcement officer. So I'd like to maybe pass that on to CAO Lee and have him contact the individual and see where it goes from there, if I may.
Anyone?
I think Landon already sent us a draft bylaw last week, the week before, looking for feedback. So that's already out there. And I believe Landon was looking also at having somebody from Public Works take over the bylaw enforcement. So if we can do it in-house, then why not do it in-house?
Yeah, so just a quick date, and I just want to make sure that we're kind of not crossing lines here. So the dangerous and unsightly bylaw that we have right now, I'll redistribute that out to councils that we have it. There's really no meat to the bylaw. What the bylaw says is it defers back to the Local Governance Act. Okay, so the Local Governance Act says if you have a dangerous and unsightly bylaw, then there's a bunch of parameters around which you can operate. If you don't have a bylaw, then it defers to the Lieutenant Governor to oversee your dangerous and unsightly. So really the only bylaw that we have in place that's for dangerous and unsightly is, I mean, I've got it in front of me. It's a 3-paragraph bylaw. There's nothing there. And all it says is the Local Governance Act needs for us to have a bylaw. Here's our bylaw. Everything from section 130 to 143 or whatever that applies in the Local Governance Act applies to this bylaw. So absolutely, I can, if Councillor Bork has the name, I can connect with them on enforcement. We do have an enforcement officer right now for the dangerous and unsightly. That's done through the Service Commission. However, to the point that you guys are talking about, I don't think that they're supposed to be enforcing that on our behalf. The enforcement is supposed to be with us. So I did send out a link to council. There is companies like Maritime Enforcement that's what they do. If you have bylaws in place, they'll enforce it for you. The bylaw that I had sent out was actually sort of it was kind of a lesser version of a dangerous and unsightly. It was something that was, and we've been through these discussions before, but dangerous and unsightly is a very involved, very, bureaucratic process. It involves lawyers, it involves inspectors, it involves a lot of things. Whereas the draft of the bylaw that I sent out was more of a community upkeep. It wasn't as invasive. It doesn't have the threat of, having a building demolished if it's determined to be dangerous. So I just want to make sure the council is clear on that. We are kind of talking about two different things, but absolutely we can reach out to other communities and find out how they have their dangerous and unsightly built. Having said that, and I know that the mayor has this on another agenda down, there has been some progression on dangerous and unsightly. So I'll give an update when we get to that agenda item, but we do have our appeals committee ready to go for a hearing very soon. So yeah, absolutely. If Councillor Bork wants to get that information off to me, I can summarize that all and get that over to council.
Okay, anyone else? The only thing I would add, I would prefer personally that if we were going to do enforcement, that we would have someone outside doing it as opposed to asking someone from Public Works. Because sometimes you can get some pretty greasy situations. Well, why would we want to put someone in Public Works in that situation? So I think, to be honest with you, I would want to outsource that and not have someone have to end up doing that job who's also got to live in the village and work in the village, personally. But that would be up to council, as long as there's some improvement somewhere. And you're right, I think we are moving along. I think just we got to keep it moving though at the same time. Okay, the next one, council committees. So this is one I brought up in 2021, if you remember when we first came in. And a lot of municipalities, I mean, I did some research. I was going to bring a list of names of municipalities that have council committees, but they're long. It's long because most municipalities have council committees. And, we chose not to in 2021, I believe. And I think that's a mistake. And I think I would like to rethink council committees and have council members being responsible for portfolios. And the reason, I mean, the only thing I could think of where that would not fly now is because we're so close probably to the election time, but we already see that it can work quickly. One of the council members, Council Burke, asked council if he could work on the file in terms of our health center. And in a week, you know, he had a meeting with an important person in that wheelhouse in terms of getting things done in that file. So it can be done quickly. And I think council members, all of us, should have to come monthly and give a report on something. And if you don't feel like you don't want to, and other council members want to take files on, I think they should be allowed to. I don't think if it's one council or two council members feel like, you know, I don't want to take portfolios on, so no one on council can. I don't think that works. There are some council members who want to take on specific portfolios. We've had some who have been very interested in housing. We have some who have been very interested in NB Power. We have some who are very interested in the clinic. So we can sort those out. And then, you know, obviously you need to have a chain where the administration is with you on every step of that. But other councils and committees of communities do it, so it can be done. And it would, you know, I mean, that's what we're elected to do, to get involved, not to take over, but to at least move the ball forward on some of these files. And I think it would help. I think it would help a lot if council members would take on one or two. You can work with other council members. It doesn't have to be by yourself. You can have two or three. I mean, you're all a member of the council. Every file, you're a member of that council and that committee. But you should have one or two who are driving it forward. And then be responsible for it. Do the work on it. Don't pass it off all the time. Do the work, the groundwork, and then come and make a presentation and show that you're doing the work. And I think citizens would appreciate that. So, anyone?
Sorry. I do remember when, at the beginning of our term, when that came forward, and I have to say that I was not prepared or ready to take anything on as a new council member. Now that we're into the end of our term, I'm ready to take some on, unfortunately, but no, I agree. Like, there are several areas that I have been looking into or reached out to certain individuals on, and it would be great if we could work as a team on some of these items that I've looked into. So I appreciate that, but at the beginning of our term, like I said, I was not ready.
And I remember that, and we, you know, and we didn't do it, right? So that was good. We were okay with that. But I think what I see is you know, council members who are ready they have an interest in something, a specific interest in something. And usually when you have a passion in that portfolio, you can move it forward, right? And you're willing to make the calls. And I see, I mean, most municipalities do it that way. So here's another case where Beldoon could, you know, get themselves doing the way other municipalities do it, and then find the right way. It's not always, we're not going to have all the answers with this group because, you know, we're not that far away from election. But for the next council, they would have a template for how to make these things work. So, and again, if some you're not obligated to do it. If you don't feel that you're ready, if you don't feel, you know what, I just don't have the time, or I'm not interested, or whatever. But those who are should be allowed to.
Yeah, so I agree with Mayor Arsenault. There's a lot of communities that have these committees in place. You know, they're appointed by council, so there is some structure. If it's okay with council, I'll move on. I've got some good information on committees and how they should be, you know, operating. It's just in the municipal world, a portfolio, when you use the portfolio terminology, it's kind of like an assigned person for sort of an administrative job. So I've got some good documentation that shows sort of the difference between committees and portfolios and how best to manage that. I'll move that out so council can have a look at that. But totally agree with the mayor. There is definitely a lot of communities that have had a lot of success by having communities that are sort of, you know, an economic development committee, something like that, right? So we've got some good information, some background information. I'll move that out to council. You can have a look at it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Just a general comment, if I may, Your Worship. You know, I'm going to use the analogy that our CAO is a 1-liter cup, and we're pouring 20 liters into that cup. So we have a problem in the sense of timing and his time and things of that. And I agree 100% with the mayor's comments that there are a lot of issues that we as councillors can address and bring them, if they need to go to the CAO and work closely with the CAO and bring them to council. But I think we'd see a lot more results and feel a lot more positive about the accomplishments of council if this were followed through with. So I'm in agreement with the statement.
Okay, so we'll do that. Next is the income tax program. So we've had an income tax program here for seniors for quite some time. Back in the last council, I brought this forward because I asked us to amend that because we're taking revenue away from local businesses. Because we have local businesses who do this. And instead, we're directing them here. And those, so our local businesses aren't getting that money, isn't getting that money. That's money that's lost to them. Now, the idea for the program is a good one because it gives seniors, right, an opportunity, especially if they're hard pressed, to have their income taxes done for free. So the way that we could do it is that if our seniors, instead of having them come here to be done by, by us and taking that revenue away from local businesses, have them go to the local businesses, as long as it's a local registered business who does this, and I know of at least a couple in town who do that, and we'll underwrite the cost of that. So we're still giving seniors the opportunity to get their income taxes done for free, but we're not taking money away from our local businesses. So I would like us to take a long, hard look at that, because I don't think that's right. We don't provide other services that take revenue away from local businesses. But we do this one. It's for a great idea because we have seniors who are strapped, but we shouldn't be doing it and taking money away from local businesses. And we can do all the good things that this program provides by allowing seniors to get their income taxes done for free and still allow our local businesses who are in this business to profit. So it's a win-win.
I know where you're coming from, but my understanding is it's not just seniors who use this program through our village. So I'm not sure how we can do this, to be honest with you, because like I said, I believe it's others as well using it. And it's a program that's worked so far, and I know that the administration is the ones responsible for doing it, but it's adding an extra cost to our budget as well. So that's just my input on this. I'm just going to let...
Yeah, if I may, Your Worship, I have had conversations with at least 2 of the businesses that are in our community that do income taxes. And both of those businesses made the comment about how the village is taking money away from their business by subsidizing this program. But with that said, both of those businesses made it very clear that if there was someone in a financial difficult situation and they, they really couldn't afford to pay, they wouldn't expect to be paid. They would do the taxes at no charge. So, I mean, I don't know how that program would work, but it's an idea, I believe, worth looking at, because I agree. We as a council should not be directing businesses or business away from a local business. I mean, it's not what we're here for. So anyway, I believe it's a good idea and it's worth looking at.
Okay, so I'm not super versed on the program, and I'll get the information off to council. So Deputy Mayor is correct. It's not just for seniors. It's for a specific income bracket. Okay, so anyone that's within a certain bracket qualifies. We don't collect money for this. It is a free program. So we are a part of a program. Anyone in the community, any accounting agency or any accountant in the community can also become registered with this program and put it on the same way that we do. So there isn't. I'll get the details and I'll move all the program information off to council, but we don't collect money for this. We don't, it is a burden on resources for sure. We have to apply resources. So there is, if you want to look at it from the resource perspective, it does cost us money to do this service for the community, but we do not collect revenue from the community on this. It's a free service for the community. So anyone right now in Beldoon has the ability to go to this program. I don't have it in front of me right now, but I will get the name and the information off to council. I do believe that it would probably not be well received by the program facilitators if we did back out of it. However, anyone in the community can also apply to be part of this program. So I'll get the information off to council. I'll get more detail on the program. It's one of those items that I haven't gone into incredibly deeply, but I can let council know that it's not something we collect money for, and it is a free program for a tax bracket. Okay.
All right. Next is the Appeals Committee update. So, can we get an update?
Happy to say that we have our first appeals hearing scheduled for this week. So we will be actioning, right now I believe we have 4 appeals in from the last round of dangerous and unsightly premises. We do have the scheduled hearing for this week. So the committee is aware. We have the inspector and the property owner lined up. Because this is the very first appeals hearing for the committee, we have 1 property on the docket that we will be addressing. I do suspect that the other 3, I believe there's 3 other properties that have appealed. I would suspect that we'll have those hearings arranged for the following 2 weeks. At this point, because it's brand new to us, we haven't gone through it, I can't provide council with an update on when you might see progress on the file. I do know that just going through what is in the act, after the appeals hearing, the committee does have 14 days to render a decision and provide that to the property owner. And the property owner then has 14 days after that point to be able to appeal that decision, if they so choose, with the King's Bench. So very realistically, I wouldn't suspect that you would see progress on that specific property for probably 28 days. However, I can let you know that the first hearing is scheduled for this week, and I'll definitely keep council updated on future hearings.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything they want to ask or add? I have a question. The question I have, again, goes back to enforcement. So once the appeals committee do their thing, what's our enforcement options?
Okay, so what's happened right now is council has identified the properties. You've had your inspector go out and evaluate those, and they've provided reports to council. And as we've discussed before, our lawyer has been involved, and affidavits have been signed, and et cetera, et cetera. What has happened right now is you're right at the finish line. Our inspector has completed what's called a Form 4, which is that is the form that's issued to a property owner that explains the situation with the property and what they need to do to rectify it and how much time they have. The appeal process stems exactly from that. What the appeal is that the property owner is appealing the inspector's diagnosis and or the time frame. Okay, so the appeals committee, all they are simply doing is they're evaluating the amount of time that needs to be done and whether or not they agree with the inspector's decision. So from an enforcement point of view, there is no bylaw enforcement that needs to be done. It's a time frame. It's stuck to, you're tied right now to what is legislated. So as soon as those timeframes lapse, it gives the municipality the ability to go on site and execute whatever needs to be done. So in the particular instance that we're dealing with right now, it's a structural issue. It's not a matter of a cleanup or or a rebuild. This is a structural issue where a structure on a property needs to be removed. So once the timelines lapse, we immediately have the capability as a municipality to be able to go and execute on the work that needs to be done.
Anyone? Okay, thank you for that. The last thing on my list is the Mitchell Lawler Road intersection. And CO Lee can follow up if I've got any of these facts wrong, but it seemed to me that since 2021, if I remember one budget session, we agreed to have Mitchell Lawler Road intersection worked on, and then I think it was reversed. I think does that make sense that it was out that way? Okay. So I think I'd like to bring it back again for council's consideration as to whether or not we would agree to put some money on trying to correct this intersection, which is a dangerous intersection. CO Lee has visited. We visited actually on the same day years ago, and I think it was probably both our first time. Maybe we'd been there before, but I hadn't. I was surprised by how dangerous it was. So just to put it on the horizon, that it is something that I think council should reconsider in terms of putting money into fixing it, to see what we can do to fix that. So I just wanted to, it had been off the radar for a while, and I'd like to put it back on the radar.
Did we have someone assess that before? Yeah, we did, right?
Yeah, we did. So just for a point of clarity, we're going to be approving the CCBF plan at the regular council meeting in 2 weeks. And in that plan, there is a section of Lawler Road. So from Mitchell up Lawler, I don't have the distances in front of me, but there is a section of road that we've put into the plan to be upgraded. That's not what the mayor's talking about right now. He's talking about what we would call Anderson's Turn, right? So the other one. So we do have, that was back, my goodness, Paul, it was probably a few years back, but I do believe that we have engineer studies for that. So maybe what I can do is I can go back through the files and redistribute that to council so you're aware of the different options. There was different things they were looking at from sightline perspectives and how you could sort of make that road a little bit more level. So Paul is correct. It was something that was discussed and council had tentatively agreed to work it into the budget. I can't recall. I think it was a price point issue where the engineers had come back and they reevaluated it. And I think that's why it got moved to the wayside. But we do have some studies done on that. I'll send that out to council so you have the updated information.
Anyone else?
That came up several times. We have other roads that are crooked, like I can name Marion's Turn on the Archibald Road, that's bad. And now they have a house right there that they even have a sign saying, be careful. So if you start doing one road, I feel that what makes that one more important than the Archibald Road, or there's also one on the Newell Road, like that's coming, that's really a bad turn. I do realize there's families, but there's families on both roads, and there's not only one twist and turn, there's a lot of back roads and probably the main road that has bad turns into it.
Anyone else? Okay.
Well, I think if there are dangerous roads, they should be addressed one at a time. stick them on a plan and start working on them. And that Mitchell Lawler Road is dangerous. It's a scary place to be in the winter if you're meeting traffic there. You can't justify ignoring one because there are others. We need to start doing them all, right? Like, so the 5-year plan is there. Stick them on there and work through them one at a time. The engineering is done for Mitchell and Lawler Road, so that's an easy place to start. And then address Newell Road and Archibald Road, and that's.
Anyone else?
Mayor Worship, I agree with Councillor Robinson's comments. That is the way to address it. There's no way we can take them all on at the same time, but that is a very positive and based on our strategic plan to address them one at a time and put them there, and eventually we'll get to the bottom of the list. But with that said, I believe that's the approach we should take, one at a time.
Okay, that's all I have. Councillor Burke.
Okay, I will be asking council shortly, but I just want to bring you up to date as to where this stands and what transpired. In the month of June, we discussed about trying to get a doctor or nurse practitioner to our medical center here in Beldoon. I volunteered to take it on if council was in agreement, and they were, so I thank council for that opportunity. With that said, I began by having a conversation by an administrator by the name of July Signot, and she is the one of the directors within Vitale. I explained to her exactly what the idea and what we were trying to accomplish by having a video done of our community and putting into our budget some finances to be able to attract either a nurse practitioner or a doctor to our community. And the reply I got from her was unbelievable. She was extremely glad to hear that Beldoon was taking this type of an approach. With that said, I explained to her what we wanted to do, and within a very few days, she came back to me and she had explained the situation to a Raphael Roy, who is a director of recruitment for doctors, and then Isabel Duguay, who is a director for recruitment for nurse practitioners. And both of those people have agreed to meet with all of council on a date, which I have already explained to council. I just don't want to get into the date at this moment in time, but you're well aware of that date, and I will follow it up with an email so that it is available to you. But with that said, those negotiations will come before council and, that type of thing. But I will be asking council for a motion at our public meeting. I will be requesting a motion that this council is prepared in the 2026 budget to put in a $10,000 allotment for a nurse practitioner or a doctor who would come to our community, and that would be basically a bonus for that individual based on a contract, with our community. So whether it's a 5-year contract or, a 10-year, it doesn't matter to me. But with that said, my motion that I will bring forward at the next public meeting will be that for the next 5 years, we will put in the budget a $10,000 bonus annually to attract a nurse practitioner or a doctor to our community. How this is going to work is that, because I don't want to be negotiating with these directors. I want them to know that we are serious and that this is what we're prepared to do and this is our approach. And we are taking a very aggressive and positive approach to this. The idea at that time will be to ask if Beldoon can do a presentation to the graduating class of both doctors and nurse practitioners when they graduate. So we're looking for either if someone who is a already practicing physician or nurse practitioner wished to come to our community and was attracted by the offer, well, I have no problem with that. But at the end of the day, the direction will be to go after the graduating class to have them interested because they will be looking to begin their practices. So it's an opportunity, I believe, for us to attract somebody to our community. Where our center here in Beldoon will go from there, I know they call it a health center. The sign there that we have on Main Street reads, the Jacket River Health Center. Well, from my personal point of view and what I heard from our citizens and people in the community is that, you can't go there and it's not, so we need someone who's going to be a walk-in clinic so that people in the community have a doctor and a nurse practitioner that they can count on and go see when they need the activity. Because right now it seems that, I've gone through my personal experiences there many times. And with that said, as I say, the motion will be for a $10,000 allotment for 5 consecutive years, and council will certainly be invited to the meetings and to the presentations when they are scheduled and when they come. So with that said, that's where I'm at this moment in time, and I'm looking forward to the meeting with these individuals. So I'll send you an email as to when the time is and when that is and who's going to be there within the next few days. Thank you.
Council?
Thank you, Ron, for the groundwork on this. It's very good. It would be great, and it would be certainly a bonus to have a doctor or a nurse practitioner here in Beldoon. Thank you for what you're doing.
Anyone? I think a term was mentioned tonight that always seems to create, it's, as you mentioned, walk-in. Seems to be such an issue here because people, they go in not realizing that it's not a walk-in, and then they get there and they're frustrated because it's not. Now, in order to have a walk-in clinic, you need to be outfitted with healthcare professionals, right? So you sort of, you can't put the cart before the horse, but it would be nice, and this is what we're trying to do, is to start this so that our clinic is outfitted with the proper professionals and then ultimately try and turn that into a walk-in clinic. I think that's the 1-2 punch there that I think, so that's good. Okay. Councillor Guitar McDonnell. Deputy Mayor Guitar McDonnell.
I'm just would like to give everyone a recap of Beldoon Days 2025. It was a huge success. All events were attended beautifully by our local residents and visitors, and it worked out amazingly. We had our Citizen of the Year for 2025 was Susan Furlott, and our Senior Citizen of the Year was Antoinette Doucet Woodcox. Both ladies are so, let's just see, they are part of this community and have been for many years and show that they truly adore where they live. And so their actions within the community have been recognized. I'd also like to thank all the local groups and organizations that hosted many of these events, and our local churches, the Legion, Broken Saddle. It was amazing. Everybody attended these different events, and they were well, let's just say, presented to the community. They worked well within the community. So I just want to acknowledge the fact that our community embraces this festival, and having everyone get involved is very important. And so I just wanted to recognize so many people, and one of them being our Public Works, who worked amazing through every event. They were there, and our summer students also worked tirelessly through the week. And these volunteers for these events are so important because it is volunteers. And our community is known for its volunteers. And lastly, a huge thank you to Daryl Culligan. He ran with this. He organized everything and got the people involved that needed to be involved. And so he deserves a lot of credit. This was amazing. And so I'd like to also thank our residents, because without their support, this would never have had the recognition that it did this year. So kudos to everyone involved for Beldoon Days. It was amazing, and I'm very proud to say it was a huge success.
Council?
If I may, Your Worship, couldn't agree with you more, Deputy Mayor McDonnell. At the end of the day, I certainly would like to pass on my personal congratulations to Susan Furlot as the Citizen of the Year, and to Antoinette as the Senior of the Year, as you mentioned. Certainly well-deserved, and glad that we could recognize them. You know, the other side is, you know, as a member of the Royal Canadian Legion and involved basically in 5 activities that went on during Days, you're absolutely correct. Just a phenomenal day. Our breakfast, actually, that we had on Sunday, you know, the biggest breakfast we've had in ever. Just an unbelievable turnout. It was super. You know, so, you know, and as you mentioned, you know, the committee was more than helpful during the senior supper, and people deserve a lot of credit for the time they put into it. And, you know, as you mentioned, Daryl is certainly very well organized and very astute on what needs to be done and how it's being done. So, again, my personal thank you to Daryl. And, you know, with that said, to the committee of Beldoon Days, I know Marilyn, Lillian, and Dawn and Cynthia are involved in that. I'm not involved in it as much because I'm involved so much with the Legion's activities. But with that said, yeah, the last comment I wish to make was I have spoken to dozens of people who have attended the fireworks, the best fireworks display ever. So at the end of the day, kudos to the committee for a fine job on making Beldoon recognized. They said they've attended the ones in Campbellton, they've been to the Bathurst, they went to Dalhousie, and they said Beldoon was hands down the best fireworks display of all. So congratulations to the committee on a job well done.
Council?
Yes, I'd like to congratulate everybody that put in a lot of work. I went to the Mackerel Derby, and the fire department did an amazing job there. The people, it's always nice to see people. I was there with my family, my young grandchildren, and they just had a ball running that beach, and it was really nice. It was nice to see people with smiles on, trying to get their fish. I don't know how many was there got it, but I'm sure somebody got some nice ones. Also, the fireworks were amazing. The weather was iffy during the day, but they pulled it together, and it worked, and it was beautiful. It was amazing. It was a nice week. There was a lot of people in the community that you've seen. It was everybody's, like, a lot of people actually like come home, and I was very happy that mine were able to come home for some of these events, and it's beautiful. And you know, they see their old teachers, they see the people that they've known all their lives, and it's beautiful. It's certainly, it was a success. Daryl certainly did an amazing job. Congratulations to Susan and Antoinette. They are very, it's nice to see these people get it. They're nice people. They're in the community. They're always smiling, you know, but it's nice. I thank you for everyone that put in something into this Beldoon Days.
Council? Well said, Deputy Mayor. I think you hit all the points there very well. And Lillian and Ron too. It was on my time in council, maybe out of council, I really think it's the best one that we've ever had. So, yeah. Okay, thank you to everyone. Thank you. That's it for council presentations. Next. Oh, sorry, yeah, Deputy Mayor. You've got one more, the community pride discussion.
That's okay. Actually, when we're discussing the unsightly premises, and this kind of falls under the community pride discussion. During Beldoon Days, there was a community pride. They wanted families to send in pictures of their community pride, their gardens, their whatever they wanted to do to make themselves or their homes look attractive or welcoming. So with that being said, our community pride, we need a bump. We need a little bump. So the unsightly premises, yes, there are some, you know, and we are looking at residents and businesses to try to take some pride in what they own. And that's, you know, that's just the way it should be anyways. And our community can build on that. You know, we're looking to attract new residents, new businesses, and we want to make sure that when they come here, they look at where we are and go, wow, this is really something. So I think I just wanted to, like, just put it out there that let's take a little pride or more pride in what we have. And let's show it. You know, let's show it. If you see that your neighbor is struggling with cutting their grass or they need help picking some garbage up, you know, you can lend a hand. You know, that's who we are. That's our community, you know. We help each other. So I just like us all to look at that a little bit. And I will also add that I was disappointed in the fact that I went down to the Mackerel Derby as well. That brand new road, Rorty Point. And what do I see? Tire tracks. Spinning tires on a brand new road. You know, really, we don't need that. It's not a game. We want to take pride in what we have and what we own and what we fix and repair, and we want to keep it like that. So please, if you're out there doing wheelies or whatever, you know, just think about it. You're not impressing anybody. And it's along the main road as well. You know, let's take pride. And that's all I want. I want our community to be proud.
Council?
We do live in a beautiful community, and we do have, when something happens to anybody in a community, people gather together, and I've seen that in a lot of fundraisers. We're very fortunate. Everybody knows everybody here in Beldoon, and, you know, when people need support, people are there to lift them up. And yes, I was disappointed in seeing the tire marks on our new road, but I've also looked at above that. I looked at our beaches, how beautiful it is, how, you know, the people were happy to be there, and it's so much positive here in our community, and we have so much to be proud of. I'm very proud to be here. I've lived in Beldoon all my life, and I love it here, and it's home. Yeah.
Council? Okay, thank you. CAO Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So one point for me, I just wanted for council to be aware that we did have a request come in from the Chaleur ATV group concerning a shelter that they currently have on one of the PIDs owned by the municipality. There was a request that came in. The shelter that they have right now is off of Mitchell Road. It's approximately 700 meters off of Mitchell Road. So they have had some issues with vandalism at the shelter, and they are potentially looking to move that shelter a little bit closer to Mitchell Road. Just so it's in closer proximity to the street, and hopefully be a little bit more successful in having some eyes on it and being able to police it a little bit more. So we have talked to legal on this briefly, and if they're looking to relocate the shelter, then there doesn't seem to be too many concerns around that. However, the ATV group did get into potentially putting in a holding tank for a washroom, and if we did go that way, then there is the likely the chance that that we would need some sort of a land lease agreement with them because there would be liabilities around that. But as of right now, I'm going to have further update. They're only looking to do this in the fall, but I just did want to make sure that council was aware that the request had come in to either relocate or rebuild this shelter. If you have any questions, any specifics, please let me know, and I'll be sure to reach out and get that information. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure that it was important that to the Shilore TV Club that council was aware that the request had come in, and it is something that they're hoping to facilitate in the next couple months. That's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Clerk Treasurer Colgan. Nothing, okay. So we need the motion then to go to a closed session.
M 2025-0805-76, be it resolved to close the meeting to the public to discuss the following: 68-1-I, labor and employment matters, including the negotiation of collective agreements.
Seconder.
So I'll second it.
On the question, all those in favor say aye. Okay, so we'll adjourn for the moment. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
M 2025-08-05-77, that the meeting adjourn at 7:57.
Get a seconder?
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye. Motion passed. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.